All right, so our second foldable for section 5.1 is the classifying triangles foldable. And we're going to classify in two ways. We're going to classify them both by sides and by angles. Now, a lot of these you guys probably already know, but if you don't, that's fine. We'll go over them too. So we're going to look first at the classifying by its sides. Now, I'm not going to go over like how to cut this out or whatever because the directions are on the top of this sheet. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut out this part here to where it's just like this. And you're going to do these both for the sides and the angles, okay? And then you're going to cut this flap here and this flap here to where after you paste these down, you're going to lift it up, and then this is going to be under it, this is going to be under the flap, and this is going to be under the equilateral flap. But make sure you get these right things under it. But before you can get the right things under it, we need to go over the definitions of each of these. So a scalene triangle is a triangle in which all sides are different lengths. Okay, so each side is a different length. That's why we're pasting this under it, because notice here's 1, 2, or 3, and then 2 hash marks. So clearly each of these sides are different lengths. So after we paste this in our interactive student notebook, now you're only going to paste what's on the dotted line, so this little part. That way when you open this flap, this will go under it. Okay, an isosceles triangle, this one you probably already know, is when we have two sides are congruent for a triangle. Okay, so notice on here, here's one congruent side, here's two congruent sides. So these two sides are congruent, which means it's isosceles. In an equilateral triangle, we have all three sides are congruent. So a triangle where all three sides are congruent. And then once again, you're going to paste this under this flap. So it's just kind of definition, and then you open the flap up and it's a visual of that definition. All right, now when you paste this in, make sure you paste this pretty close to the top of the page because we're going to do the classifying by angles below it, and then we're also going to do one more thing below it. So there's going to be like 3 things here, here, and here. So make sure you start this close to the top of your page. All right, so now let's look at classifying by its angles. So the same thing, you should have this cut out total. And then you're going to cut along these dark lines here, here, and here. And then you're going to glue this down, and remember some stuff goes under it, but you're going to glue this here to where when you open this flap, you're going to have these pictures glued under the flap in your interactive student notebook. All right, let's look at the classifying triangles by the angles. Now, it's going to be the same thing as before. You should have already cut around here. Okay, and you should have already cut each one of these individual triangles out. Okay, now we're just going to paste in our interactive student notebook just this top part here. Okay, that way when you cut these flats here, you can lift them up and you're going to see a visual of each of these triangles under each of the flaps. All right, let's go ahead and write the definitions on each one of these. So an acute triangle is a triangle where all 3 angles are acute. And when I say acute, that's less than 90 degrees. Okay, now an obtuse triangle is a triangle where one angle is obtuse. And remember, when I say obtuse, I mean greater than 90 degrees. Okay, now a right triangle is a triangle where one angle is a right angle, and remember, right angles 90 degrees, And last but not least, an equiangular triangle is a triangle where all three angles are equal. And if they're all equal, they each would have to be 60 degrees. So notice here, all of these angles are acute angles. Notice this one here. This angle is obtuse, the other two are acute. Down here we show a right angle, and then equiangular, we're showing all three of these are congruent, and we could also say that they're all 60 degrees. All right, now once again, when you glue this, there's going to be three things glued in this page. So we've already glued the top one, that was the sides. We're going to glue this one here. We're going to have one more that goes on bottom. And remember, you're only going to glue what's in blue here, and then each of these are going to be flaps, and this visual is going to be glued under the flap. So when you open them up, you see the visual. All right, now we're going to talk about interior and exterior angles. So notice both of these are the same figure. Here we're going to highlight the interior angles. Over here we're going to highlight the exterior angles. So when I say interior angles, guys, I'm talking about the angles we've been talking about. So I'm going to highlight this and this and this here. That would be the interior angles of a triangle. Okay, now the exterior angles would be on the outside. So here would be an exterior angle, here would be an exterior angle, and then out here would be an exterior angle. Okay, so that's the difference of interior and exterior angles. So remember, when you're pasting these, you have classifying by sides, classifying by angles, and then this is going to go on the bottom. This would be where the interior and exterior angles theorem goes. And that's all that we're going to glue on that one page.